Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with Season 5, Episode 2 of our weekly Q&C&A&T videos.
Yeah, and we're taking advantage of a slow start to the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, and so we're in the same place for this video again, so it'll be, apparently, according to the comments, it'll be mainly easier on us for actually putting it together.
Yeah.
And slightly less ASMR.
Yes, that's right.
I was a little quieter, I guess. I'm a little closer to the mic than normal, so my audio quality was slightly different.
And we're both a little bit sick, so I hope you'll excuse us if we have to turn away and cough a couple times.
Well, more than excusing us for turning away and cough, if you can hear us coughing still, if we don't turn away enough.
That's true.
So, getting into the first question.
It's a big one.
Yeah, this is a big one. There's a question and a comment thread. There's some clarification, but jumping into it so we can just get through it. It comes from Arian, Munir, and they say, BDCKR Gaming, can you please put this topic in your next Q&A&T video? This topic deserves a discussion, guys. Please talk about it. Okay. Recently, a lot of people have been using Batman Ninja Batman with Batman Ninja Helmet, Killer Croc Companion Card, and Gingold Soda in online defense, and it has been terribly annoying. It's like doing a troll to the offense players. Batman Ninja Batman is being an absolute pain to fight with that setup. It's like you're doing tons of damage and he's just ignoring everything and making fun of you. What the F? This thing needs to be changed. Either Batman Ninja Helmet needs to be nerfed or else Batman's passive. Online battles are really becoming a garbage now because of this setup. The setup is the worst. More than Luchador Bane's Special 1 Team destroying setups and Ares' infamous setups with Tantu Totem. I really think this needs a nerf. Despite of how powerful a character is, he can't just go invincible, right? This is seriously unfair and trolling to the opponents. It's more than overpowered, because overpowered is also defeatable. So from now on, every team, when I see this Batman setup, I'll take a screenshot and report to WB directly. My intention is not to get those players banned, but to nerf this strategy. I hope everyone else will do the same thing. Otherwise, the game will lose all of its fun, and it will totally go unplayable and unbearable only for this one character. So we, who still love this game and want to play, should stand up against this.
Maybe I'll read the follow-up. So Yazan Omar says, yes, there's some that do that in online battle, but not that hard. The best way to finish battle, you need to kill him first, because if you killed someone before him, then he gets stronger.
And then, our friend Arian fires back and says, that's how the setup is made. Batman's never kept on the first slot so that he can be killed first. And even if he tags in early, it's still impossible to kill him first because of those defensive gears. Even if you get your powerful specials unblocked, he won't die, which is a serious humiliation for the real players. And moreover, if you want to kill him first, other than the other two opponents to avoid his painful survival, you can't just let the other two opponents live by purpose, right? Often the other two opponents are very strong, and if you let them live in order to kill Batman first, it can bring a nightmare for you. Online battles are always unpredictable, and one mistake means the very end here. You definitely need to kill them whenever you get a chance. Otherwise, if you keep the other two alive on purpose, often they can destroy your team, such as Luchador Bane, Injustice 2 Superman, Ares, Batgirl, Batman Ninja Lord Joker, Flashpoint Bats, etc. So you see, this setup is made in such a way where you can't play at all. You'll feel total garbage to play against that team. Now you understand what I'm protesting against?
Alright, so that was longer than usual, but I think it brings up a couple interesting points, and I think I want to address a few points to start with. One, the Batman Ninja Helmet, that's actually not a problem. When you're playing against the AI, they don't save power. So you do get some defensive benefit, but it's really the Gingold Soda and the Killer Croc Companion Card that makes, and his passive, that makes him particularly hardy. So the passive is sort of interesting because it's only when he's outnumbered. So at the point where if you're fighting against him and you are outnumbering him, it's a problem. Once you're down to one-on-one, there shouldn't be a problem at all, because unless you've built a team where there's one person with no offensive potential, you should be able to just whittle him down a little bit. When he knocks your guys out and you're down to one-on-one, it shouldn't be a problem. But the bigger picture thing is, alright, so we recently had a video with our best team, right? What we call the best multiplayer team.
And we're standing by that.
Right, even though there's been a bunch of comments that say, well, instead of Injustice 2 Aquaman, we stick in Injustice 2 Superman or somebody or whoever. Here's the thing. Here's why Injustice 2 Aquaman is perfect in this situation, but in general too. he's got a special one that causes bleed. Bleeding causes extra damage. I think it's 20%, and it stacks.
Yeah.
So if you give him Quake Engine, not only does it increase the special damage, but it also increases the bleed damage. You know, if you wait for Batman Ninja Batman to use up his power first, right?
Yeah.
And then that effectively doubles it, because you've got the extra, I guess, the 20, 50%. You've got, and you've got it where it reapplies again, right, after you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So by giving him Claw of Horus like we do in the setup, after a few specials, Batman Ninja Batman gets really squishy, and he doesn't even have the extra benefit of the protection with Killer Croc companion gear.
Yeah.
Or a Gingold Soda. So they're really, like, if you plan the team properly, I mean, everybody's got their opinion about who the best team is, right? But
yeah,
it's funny that in the best team, that the one that's getting the most pushback is Injustice 2 Aquaman.
Because he's perfect for this exact setup.
Yeah, and he fits in. Like, you could stick in somebody else with the same offensive potential as, say, our Superman, but, you know, it feels like what you're doing is you're loading up in one area that's not really needed, and then you're
making it easier sometimes, but it's not actually consistently. It's not easier for some fights. It's harder for some fights, to the point where it might even be harder to, like, win straight up, not even just win quick.
Yeah. And you can see. All right, so hold on. Here we go. So he's a little bit harder because of more hardy, not harder, because of his Astro Harness.
Yeah.
And when the cool thing is, he's actually also gonna apply the the damage over time and the bleeding to the next guy who tags in.
Yeah. Oh, and I have one thing to say too. As for the screenshotting and reporting, what I would do, maybe if that's your true intention, is to blur out the name. Because,
that's a good point.
If we get that your intention is to not get anybody banned, and that's a good intention. I don't know how the reporting system works, right?
Right.
If you report it and you say, hey, this is why I'm reporting it, this is what's happening, right? That's one thing. But it's possible that, you know, it's automated, or even just that the person receiving the emails doesn't really give a crap.
That's true.
Right? Like, we have no clue what the actual system is on the other end. So if you're specifically trying to not get anybody reported, I would highly recommend doing something so that their name isn't actually in the screenshot.
Right.
Because it's entirely possible that, you know, your report does in some way lead to them getting banned.
Right.
In a way that you can't necessarily control for. And
That's
so
right.
if the principle of the thing is important to you and you want to report everything to WB, I'm not sure how effective that is, but I say go for it. If you want to make sure you don't ban people, I would say just to be safe.
Yeah.
Keep it out of the screenshot, if at all possible.
Yeah. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, in this sequence that we're going to do here as a background of the 3 ultimate battle runs,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure each of the ultimates is going to have a Batman Ninja Batman once.
Yeah.
And now he may not have that ideal loadout. This is going to be a bit more interesting with the Killing Joke Joker at the beginning. If I'd be more tempted to kill time against Killing Joke Joker, excuse me, than I would against Batman Ninja Batman. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
He's just, if there's anything that's going to be worth nerfing or worth changing, this ain't it. I still haven't seen anything so far in the game that I can get behind nerfing.
Yeah. And that'll come again a little later, I think.
Oh, and this, alright, so this is, if people watching this haven't noticed already, this is on a different account, so it's not 60 Elite 10, this is 50 Elite 5, because that's enough to get maximum battle points. And
Yeah.
so if, you might have noticed too, what I was doing was buying time so that the follow-up hits on, ooh, and that did not work out quite well. The follow-up hits on Wonder Woman would go through to the next person to hopefully soften them up a bit, but I couldn't tag her out in time. So let's see if she survives. If she doesn't, this will be a good demonstration of why our team is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully he'll do his super now. There you go. So long power. And in the meantime, actually, what's cool is he's going to be taking bleed damage from Aquaman.
Yeah.
So he's saving us the trouble of actually having to wait. So look, his health is down to less than half, and it's quickly dripping away.
Oh. And there we go, and some of it got refreshed onto the new guy.
Yeah, this is, I think, a perfect illustration of why. Because I guess, you know, the alternative would be just to wait out Killing Joker instead of knocking him out. Wait until he tags out. But I think it's a valid criticism that if you're going to wait it out too long, that one of the other guys is going to come in with power and really do a number on
perfect. Oh, we didn't get to jump over. Okay, so there we go. Our next question is also from Arian Munir, and he says, so you guys are from Italy? Also never imagined you could be father and son. Always thought either you were friends or classmates or cousins or brothers. OMG, what a surprising reveal. But as you have revealed everything about yourself, so what's the problem if you reveal your face? You've already revealed everything. So please do it.
That's a strong nope from me.
Yeah, I think it's a different layer, and I think to some extent, it's more about the idea of separation, right? Like, I don't mind if people know that I have this channel. It's not something that I hide, but it's the idea of keeping them a little separate and keeping some degree of meaningful privacy, because it's like also. We're not from Italy. We mentioned in an earlier video, like a long time ago, where we're from. But I guess with the recent shocking reveal, maybe that's enough tantalizing information about our lives for now.
Yeah, and we weren't just in Italy, actually. It was more for fun. It's not like we have family or anything there. We were actually in Barcelona and Italy. And all right, so here's the thing that's cool. I just realized I'm not a big
and
traveler.
France a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of France. I'm not a big traveler. And I know that for most people, there's a huge amount of appeal in seeing the monuments and the really big things that places are famous for, right?
Yeah, and I enjoy seeing those things.
And it's okay, but you know where I get the most fun?
I know.
The everyday stuff. So hitting the supermarket, taking public transit, and it's cool because
you see the ways the cities tick.
Right. And it's on top of that, what's happened with the availability of information, right, with the internet.
Yeah.
Then you can learn stuff that you would otherwise be at the mercy of whoever. So I'm sort of talking around it, but I think a good example is, so we landed in Barcelona.
Yeah.
We were able to get a SIM card for a phone with data, and I don't know what the prices are like in other places. In Canada,
they're pretty expensive.
Yeah. So we were able to get 9 gigs of data that would last an entire month. I was wrong. This one does not have Ninja Batman, but the next run should.
Yeah.
So I guess to the point too is that he's not that common. So the fact that he appears every once in a while with that loadout, even if you're having trouble against it, I don't think is entirely unfair. But 9 gigs of data that was allowed roaming across the entire European Union.
Yeah.
And it was 20 euros.
Which is crazy.
Compared to what we can get the price. I'm sure there's other places in the European Union. We actually saw places in Italy afterwards that was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, but I think just in Italy. I don't think that was across EU.
That allowed us to start in Barcelona. And the cool thing about Barcelona too is their public transit, unlike Toronto's public transit, gives you really easy access to the airport.
Yeah, it's massive too. There was this one place in which we just kept on going down escalators, where there was escalators back and forth, and we must have gone on like 4 sets of escalators back and forth to get all the way down. And so we just kept on going deeper and deeper into underground.
All right, I want to point out, Special 2 from Ares against our Superman. See how little damage it did? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And so there were 2 sets. There was like an outside set and an inside. Like there was like a left set and a right set where like the inside would like meet up and then split apart and then meet up and then split apart. Mm-hmm. And so just this massive area dedicated to just escalators. Mm-hmm. And so you couldn't really see like down to see how far it went, right? And it just kept going and going and going, and it was incredible.
That was at a station, right?
Yeah, and that was just. That wasn't like a monument or anything. That was just some train station, right?
Right,
some subway station.
Was that Passeig de Gracia? That was because it crosses like 3 lines. So there's 3 lines come together and you can change. Oh, there's 1 line. So if we hadn't been able to look stuff up beforehand,
yeah,
there's 1 train to the airport that you need to pay extra for.
Yeah.
Or you can spend, I don't know, like some ridiculous amount, like 20-something euros for like a 3-day unlimited pass.
Yeah.
But if you just get a regular T10, which is 10 rides for just over 10 euros, one of the lines, the Renfe line, goes directly from the airport, and you don't have to pay extra. It's just all part of it. It's ridiculous. I mean, like, in a good way. And the supermarket, oh my god, they had those, was it Iberian?
I was like, Jamon Iberico?
Yeah, so that special ham, that was, what show was that in?
It was in, like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Somebody got killed for it.
Right, so they had these at the supermarket, just, like, laying
sitting
there
out,
display.
yeah, like, at the front of the store.
Yeah, but, like, for a couple €100.
Yeah.
For a leg of ham. So, excuse me.
It was interesting, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that was, I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out, but I just realized that's
we got some cornettos, because we love Edgar Wright.
Oh! Like real cornettos. That was hilarious.
Just for the movies.
And it was on special that you could buy a box of 6 mini cornettos with the little disc on top for, it was a €2 special.
Yeah. So anyways, that's some...
Alright, so yeah.
The scattered ephemera.
So, but I think there's something to be said for maintaining separation. I mean, I guess it's hard to really explain without, getting into more details. But I'm not really that interested in having anybody from my work or my everyday life recognize me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want to be able to have that, I don't know, plausible deniability at the very least. Yeah. Now,
I want to, maybe this is something I could toss out to be answered. If anybody has a specific interest in seeing a face reveal, not that we're going to do it, but can you maybe get a little bit into the reasons why it's important to you? I'd really be curious about what would the value in that be? I think I have some sense, but yeah, I'd like to hear it from people, and I would like to not influence what they say. Yeah. So there we go. Our next question comes from Tay Mervin, and they say, at BDCKR Gaming, what should I do first in the game? Like, who should I get? What pack should I open? And what game mode should I play? Because I'm going to make a new account. All right, so my best suggestion would probably be that you should go to the official forums.
Yeah.
I mean, because these Q&C&A&T, which were originally Q&A and then became Q&A&T.
We just like adding letters. I think at first the T was funny because it was talking. Well, it was accurate because we wanted to break the limitations a little bit of just Q&A.
I think it was funny to me because it was intentionally A&T instead of T&A. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, they were meant to answer questions that were more complicated than I'd want to spend time typing them out in the comments.
Yeah.
But there's a limit to how complicated. Because especially, all right, so you're talking to people, guys who've been playing for more than 5 years, or 5 years now.
Yeah, and I think the decisions aren't necessarily the same anymore. Because before it was simpler.
And the last new account I started was maybe about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So the real answer is it depends, because it depends a lot on what your intention is, how much time you're willing to play, because the more you're willing to play, if you're really willing to grind at the beginning, then that's going to change a little bit what you want to do. Yeah,
and so it's... Yeah, I think the amount of each thing you buy is definitely proportionate to the amount that you play. Because you need more, silver characters before you move on to the gold characters if you play enough that you run out of all of your silver characters before you can, and you want to keep playing, and then all of a sudden you're stalled out and you have to go back to a way earlier fight with, like, whatever bronze guys you have, right? Whatever, like, bottom of the barrel scraping.
My best answer to this, actually, I think, is because whenever there's a specific glitch available, then your strategy should be to exploit that glitch.
Yeah.
As best as you can. So that's your strategy. And in this case, because it's a multiplayer glitch, then your strategy should be to build a team that's going to be able to do well in multiplayer.
Yeah. And so that's probably a lot more gear spending.
Yes. Gears, and maybe building up a good silver or a good bronze team, which we wouldn't have recommended originally.
Yeah. So, it's true. The calculation is totally different. Because when we played the game and we built up everything we have, when to buy gears was never actually a consideration because you couldn't buy gears.
Yeah, that's
so it's easy.
Yeah.
Right? Survivor versus online versus main game was not and how to spend your time wasn't a calculation because there was no Survivor or online.
Right, and I think if I'm going to make a comment on that, Survivor...
Or Breakthrough.
Oh, right. So, I wouldn't focus too much on Survivor simply because the time it takes you to build up the augmentations to make a difference for multiplayer would be too long. You want to be ready for multiplayer as fast as possible to take advantage of the glitch.
Yeah.
So get as much gear as you can. Save up your money. Oh, the other glitch that's still been working is challenge reset, and you should always play the challenge at least once to unlock the character.
Ideally, many times.
Yes. But the MP online is what gives you some of the best access to gears, especially when you're going to be glitching it and getting it repeatedly.
Yeah.
So that's what you actually want to do. Mm-hmm. After that, I think once you've got one good season, instead of thinking that it's going to make it faster so you can just get to play more of the fun stuff, I think what you need to do is maybe spend a week or two doing nothing but, and I know it's going to feel like work, but that's going to give you the basis for really advancing quickly.
Yeah, and I guess the question is whether or not you want to do that, because when you're really early game, I mean, you definitely want to if you're interested in just collecting stuff, but if you're talking about starting from scratch, right? I don't know exactly what you want to get out of that, right?
Right.
So early game, you actually can progress decently quickly, much quicker than late game, right? With how good your team is.
Yeah.
Just leveling people up, right? Just XP, getting to the point where you're grinding for XP by itself, even without spending any money, right? You actually are actively having characters get better, and the amount of time that you can play as you get a bigger roster, it without taking breaks, also gets longer. And there's a lot of really interesting kind of progression loops that don't happen when you're at the point that we're at in playing, right? The progression system in the game works fundamentally different. Like, the systems play really differently in early versus late game. So, depending on what you want, you might actually want that early game progression system the way the developers intended, right? Because that's a point where you actually can feel like you're getting better without using glitches or without spending money or without doing much of anything but playing, which is sorry, which is I think actually like a really interesting time, you know, from the player's perspective, right?
Yeah.
In the overall like experience playing the game. So maybe you don't even want to like take advantage of any glitches, and that changes stuff too.
Right. That I guess falls under the big blanket statement of it depends, because if you're used to playing like at a really high level, right? Like we were saying before, where it really is Gods Among Us.
Yeah, you either want to get there fast, or you're doing it on purpose and you're okay with dropping down, and maybe you want to work your way up to something better. And those are two totally different things.
Yeah. Yeah. But the original advice still stands. Go to the official Warner Brothers forums, and I'll leave a link in the description.
Yeah. So there you go. Our next question comes from William Belford, and they say, do you guys think Ares Special 2 should get nerfed, or should Superman Regime Special 2 get buffed? I think Superman Special 2 should get a buff, since his counterpart already has such a strong attack, and keeping Superman Regime in his nerf state is wrong. Also, Superman Regime would be a good card for new players that can't get Ares.
Alright, so anytime I get a question like this, my answer is always never nerf. Never. It's like Tobias.
Yeah.
Okay. Never nude, never nerf.
Yeah, I think the only time you can ever nerf is if something is totally ruining the game. I think the only time is if one thing is so much better than everything else that it's literally non-optional, and if somebody else has it and you don't, it's game over. If there's ever a way to you know, fight and win, if something makes fights a struggle sometimes, I think that's all fine, right? If something makes fights too easy for the offensive player for a while, I think that's okay too. It needs to totally ruin the game. And I think the only time a nerf makes sense is if it really takes out the fun in a big way.
Alright, so I clearly made a mistake. The spoiler alert was totally wrong. We haven't seen Batman Ninja Batman. I think it might have been with another sequence where we were playing them at level 60 Elite 10.
Yeah.
So you know what? Maybe go back to that video where we have our best team, and you can see it in action where Batman Ninja Batman is just getting smoked by Injustice 2 Aquaman. Mm-hmm. So the other point I want to make is that you saw earlier, Ares against our new 52 Superman did what, like less than a third damage took off a third of his health on his special 2. So yeah, it definitely doesn't need a nerf. There are so many strategies for countering, but you have to just be aware of it, and you can't just play every fight the same way. and if you're, I think, conscious of what's coming at you,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's broken enough that needs to be nerfed. Unnerfed, absolutely, every time.
Yeah, I love buffs. I love retroactive buffs, right?
Regime Black Adam now is way better than he was when he started, and that's because they improved his passive so that he reflects not just the damage of a special, but like double the damage.
Yeah, and they tweaked Blackest Night characters, right? When they were putting them into more of like a team.
Yes. Oh, Blackest Night Batman, they gave him slightly better stats.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's really cool. I think going back to old characters that are stale, that are often never used, and I think reworks are fine. If a rework maybe, if you're changing multiple things, I think it's okay to drop a stat here or there if you need to, if you're doing something like that. But I think nerfs suck, especially because people can spend real money on this game.
Right. All right. So it's not just like you've got the characters and you have them from the beginning and you nerf it. Part of it is people don't necessarily know which guys to promote, to augment, and by the time they've done it and they've put in that much, it's not like you can take the augmentations back, right?
They've invested resources and time and effort into a character, and if they've done that because they're really good, and then you nerf it, what if somebody spent $20 or 10 hours, right? Like, doing whatever it is they've done to a character. You don't really want to take that away from people. They can become obsolete over time, and that's fair. That's just you introducing new stuff, and there's not a lot you can do about that. But what I think is pretty unfair, I think the only way that I would be okay with nerfs is if they totally refunded you for the character. If they said, here, press this button, we will let you, sell whatever you like.
Oh, get full price back. You can sell whatever promotion at full price that you paid for it.
Yeah,
and you can get all the augmentations to spread on somebody else.
Because I think that would be the only way that, because if you nerf a character that somebody spent a lot of time or money on, it would feel really, really crappy.
Sure.
I feel like if you're nerfing a character, the right thing to do is to give somebody that option to either get value back, or better yet, just don't nerf characters.
Agreed.
Because I don't think that's the thing that Warner Brothers is going to do, and that's fair because that's a lot of work, and that's not an easy thing to implement.
Right.
But I think that would be the only kind of way to nerf a character that I think would be fair to all of the to the entire player base.
Totally agree. So next question is from iProphet.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry for the pause. They say, welcome back, you both. Hope you guys had an awesome time in Italy. I always had a hunch, considering Abbott's voice in older videos. I knew he was young, just didn't think Costello was that old.
I am. I'm pretty old.
And well, now that you put 2 and 2 together, it makes total sense. I hope you have a great time in school, Abbott. Congrats, Costello. Sound and other stuff is totally fine. We barely noticed a difference. Had you not mentioned, pretty sure no one would have picked up on it. Although, whatever happened to the goddamn underwater footage? Curiosity's getting the best of me.
Alright, so I just made this connection now. Like, whatever preparation did, I don't know why this just occurred to me now. So remember in the older videos, there were comments where people thought you were a woman?
Yes.
Okay, so it just occurred to me why that people would think that. It's very much like when we were talking about the convention last week, the World Fantasy Convention, where people, when they met you, they were so surprised because you were young at the time, but you were well spoken, like you had interesting ideas and you could articulate them properly.
Oh, so you think it made less sense to them that I was a child, and
right?
It just was more logical that I was somebody who was older.
Right, exactly.
And if I was a dude, they would have expected me to have a lower voice.
Right.
So in their worldview, it was easier for them to be like, oh yeah, probably a woman.
And I think part of the problem is, a lot of people are guilty of this, is that they don't give credit to younger people for...
Chitlins.
For having the ideas because they don't express them, or just the experience that they have with kids is different because they're not willing to have the conversation with them about the stuff that's interesting and important to the kids and not to them. Yeah.
And I guess for the underwater footage, apologies, that was old footage that we actually stuck in, that we filmed a while ago. So it wasn't actually part of a video. It was just...
it wasn't meant to be a teaser or anything.
Yeah. It was just a fun piece of footage from a flashlight under light in a pool at
night.
Right,
because we do this for fun, right? And it's not because we have an overarching plan for creating a career and taking over YouTube and, you know...
or like doing like a fun ARG, where like that's like, there's something to decode if you look at the way the water ripples.
Right. So we've been willing to do stuff that just seemed cool to us just to do it, not because it had any particular meaning. So I don't know, because iProphet, I think you've been with us not from the very beginning. This started as an unboxing thing.
Yeah.
And we will forever be grateful to Nerd Block for, one, existing, and two, being in Canada, and three, nobody else doing the videos at the beginning, because when we did our first unboxing video, we got our box faster than a lot of people, because we live actually quite close to where the Nerd Block shipping offices were.
Yeah, we have less production value, so it took less time for us to get our video out.
And once we got started doing that, at the point where we were doing Injustice stuff, we've been doing sort of stuff videos for a while.
Yeah.
So it was easier to make the shift and not have totally crap content when we first started.
And I'll also be forever grateful to Nerdblock for sending us a bunch of free Nerd Blocks.
Right, when they had the different theme boxes come out, the sci-fi block. Those were a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, those were really cool.
Okay, but getting back to the footage though. All right, so this is my secret indulgence.
You could say secret shame, but that wouldn't really be accurate.
That wouldn't be, no, because I love flashlights. There's something about flashlights. So when I was young, flashlights were crap. Mm-hmm. They were the filament bulbs. I think even the good ones were like Krypton filament bulbs, like the mag lights.
Yeah.
So those bulbs would die in a not insignificant amount of time, so they wouldn't last very long. And the battery drain was crap, and the light was crap. Like the quality of the light and the intensity of the light was poor. Mm-hmm. And the battery, so until you got rechargeable batteries, which at the time also weren't very good, nickel cadmium.
Yeah.
The battery life was awful. They had a huge memory effect, so that if you recharged them before they were drained, they would lose the capacity. And so now you've got these flashlights that are LED, that you've got nickel metal hydride, or even better, if you've got a flashlight that can handle higher voltages, you can use the lithium ion rechargeables in it too.
Yeah.
And my favorite lights were made by 47s. So they're an American company.
Now defunct American company.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly everything that went on behind it, because I'm not privy to it, but from what my understanding is that there were certain features in the flashlight that another flashlight company had a patent on it, and they were lame patents because they're functional stuff. It's not like a specific kind of design.
Yeah.
But so the two...
It was a feature.
Yeah, so the two of the features that I like, because the thing I like about 47s is they're functional, they work really well, they're reliable, they are aesthetically pleasing, and they just do the job right. And so
they're not too expensive, considering that.
Right, they're in between, so they're more expensive than the regular crappy flashlights that you'll see at the department store, but they're cheaper than the real premium flashlights that have all the features that like a flashlight holics.
Yeah, then they're cheaper than the kind of people who actually had the patents on apparently some of their more premium features.
So one of the features that they had a patent on was that if you take the switch and you sort of unlock it, so twist it open a little bit, it will lock out the light so that you can't trigger it by accident in your pocket, which is a great feature. And they did that by anodizing both the threads on the switch and the threads on the body. Second thing that they didn't have the patent on that they were getting sued for was the adjustability at the head. So if you loosen the head a little bit, it changed the different settings. So that when it was tight, you could have, on the tactical flashlights, you could set it to one level. And when you had it loose a little bit, you could have it on another one. Or in their Pro series, there was a sequence in each one. So in the loose, it had a sequence of moonlight, low, medium, high.
Yeah.
And in the when it was tight, they had like maximum alternating with strobe. Brilliant lights.
Yeah. So if you ever wondered if we could speak competently and technically about anything other than Injustice, the answer is yes. Flashlights.
Well, I don't know.
Among other things.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm more of an enthusiast than I am like a fan. But I never got.
Well, what are we of Injustice? I think we're just enthusiasts too.
I guess so. That's true.
We're technically professional Injustice players, but
so the effect was besides that, the flashlights were waterproof, right? As long as you maintain them and keep the lubrication on the threads and the O-ring.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting paid for ad revenue on this video. Technically, you're a professional flashlight enthusiast. Then.
Oh, and a reviewer. I mean, it would be more useful if it wasn't a company that was out of business and you couldn't get them except by buying them secondhand on eBay or something.
Yeah.
But excellent lights. So, we're running out of time because the other thing I want to talk about when we touched on the conventions part was the other reasons why conventions are just so good.
Yeah.
And I think this is the last fight in our third sequence.
So maybe we have to save that for yet another video.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't think they're going to last very much longer. All right. So here, this team is really the best. I don't know. It's not faster than the Flashpoint team at this lower level. But it scales up properly, so when you hit level 60 Elite 10, it is, I think, better than the Flashpoint team.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not here, but definitely higher. So I think that was it.
Yeah, let's see. I haven't been paying attention to the fight counter. I don't know where exactly we are.
All right, so while we're waiting on that, or maybe we don't need to wait. I think this is it.
Yeah, so we want to give a huge shout out to our patrons. I guess first, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/bdckr, bottom right corner at the end of the video. But the important part is thanking the people who have already decided to sign up for Patreon. Because really, we've seen so much support. We've seen more than enough for what was initially an experiment to see just like, I don't know, maybe somebody's going to do it. Yeah. Has turned out to actually be what I would call just hugely successful, at least in our own estimation. This isn't like... Right. A living, but it's not supposed to be, and this is more than I ever could have hoped for. So a huge thank you to Eddy G, Edwin Felix, and Console Peasant, who are supporting us at the highest last word tier, iProphet, who is supporting us at the Your Message Here tier, and Shawn, Farrell, and LAIN, and Daniel Simonson, who are all supporting us on the credited level. A huge thanks to every one of you. Mm-hmm. And thank you guys all so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Komoda.